Welcome into 5 Wide Fantasy. Today's video, do not draft wide receivers. The last chance for us to tell you 4 wide receivers that you should be avoiding in your fantasy drafts this season. Look, my initial framework of my best fantasy football draft strategy has to not include these 2 guys that I have.
Yeah, well, I mean, I disagree with one of the players you're gonna bring up, but the guys that I have, I'm staying far away from. Both of these guys, like, we obviously ADP is very important. But there's the running backs. When we went over the running backs, like, I legit won't draft those guys. If these guys fall in the right spot, there's a chance I take them. But at their current ADP, it's just outlandish that people are taking them here.
I guess I would have to say that. I can always be had at the right number, but I really don't want to touch these guys. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and send us a DM on Twitter or send me a message in our Discord. You'll be entered to win a jersey of your choice, as well as $100 of site credit on OwnersBox. If you don't know about our new game format, Lightning Lineups, you're in luck because we're about to roll the footage. The most electric way to play fantasy sports this season. Lightning Lineups presents you with 3 teams of 3 players. Find the trio you think will score the most fantasy points, or spin the wheel to generate a new matchup. Love your lineup? Add more opponents to increase your payout. Submit your entry for free and make your way to the pay zone. Again, free entry. If you do sign up for OwnersBox and want to try out Lightning Lineups, there is Lightning 10 is the promo code, but it's already set up for you once you go into the lobby and enter your first contest in Lightning Lineups. We also have a 100K Week 1 DFS contest, super flex format on OwnersBox as well, so go check that out. If you haven't signed up, please do. We would greatly appreciate it. Let us know what you think about the game. We'd love to hear from you. Ryan. Let's go.
I want to switch things up. I want you to go first today.
Oh, appreciate that. That's great. You know what I've been thinking about the fact that I don't get to kick things off. I love
kick
that.
It off.
All right.
Kick it off.
All right. First guy I'm going with is Chris Godwin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm huge this year on I will just not draft a guy who is hurt with an relatively early pick, because I did talk about Kadarius Toney just maybe yesterday if you watched this video. But early on, I need to avoid injury. I don't want to take on injury before the season. I already have to deal with it enough during the season. I'm not doing that for Chris Godwin. As talented and as good as a player as he is, we have that ACL injury back in January, and it's concerning. He hasn't, he's been there at training camp. He didn't go on the PUP list, which was obviously a good thing. It might be the thing a lot of your league mates are probably thinking about. This guy didn't make it on the PUP list. He's probably going to be ready. Doesn't look like it. I'd probably give it 10% or less chance that Chris Godwin's playing in week 1. I mean, the Bucs brought in Russell Gage, brought in Julio Jones. They're bringing in these guys they think are capable of filling in for his absence, and they're comfortable playing these guys. But he participated in 7-on-7 drills for the first time this past week, but working in a knee brace, not getting involved in terms of contact. So I don't see this guy playing in week 1. I'd be surprised if he's available within the first 3 weeks of the year. So let's not spend a pick this early on a guy like that. Other than that, I mean, there's not a lot of things I could say bad about Chris Godwin. It's just an ACL injury that scares me, that a lot of guys haven't been able to bounce back from very quickly. I think he could still bounce back in his career. I just don't think it's this year. He's also a guy that relies on volume, opportunity, puts up a high reception total, has never been a double-digit touchdowns guy. So if he does play, Mike Evans is that guy in the red zone and that guy in the end zone, and Godwin's going to need to make a lot of plays, see a lot of receptions to return his value, which would be tough to do considering, how quickly he's trying to come back from this injury.
Yeah, I mean, I have Chris Godwin a little bit higher on my draft board, but there's definitely a couple factors. Like, obviously, bringing over Russell Gage, Julio Jones, it's getting a little bit cluttered, and obviously they're bringing those guys over because there's a reason for it. There's cause for concern for Godwin's injury. The one thing I will say is football players and just in general, athletes have been able to come back from ACLs injuries a little bit quicker over the last 2 years. They've obviously found a better way to do it.
Godwin's doing that. Like, it was January, right?
Yeah, that's very
like
soon.
J.K. Dobbins doesn't look like he's going to play week 1. It'll literally be a year by then.
That's a good point. And yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. So I think I was really high on Russell Gage at the beginning of the year because I really did think Chris Godwin was going to be out for a while. I think Russell Gage,
I think he could be back on.
Like for the first couple of weeks,
Early
sure.
on,
And then even in like DFS lineups, I think Russell Gage is probably be priced pretty well. But after that, I think like as soon as Godwin comes back, that's why I still consider drafting him at around his ADP. I'm a little bit higher on him, like I said, than you are, but I definitely agree with the cause for concern for injuries is always big.
Yes. If you want him at his ADP, there are some guys that me and you like. Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, I know. I would
AJ
definitely
Dillon?
take Cooks. Yeah.
I like I'm liking Marquise Brown.
Who would you take?
Marquise Brown.
Who would you take right now, Michael Thomas or Chris Godwin first?
I don't want either of them. I guess I'd take Michael Thomas. Yeah, because
Really,
because he's there, he's at practice.
He hasn't
Dennis
played in,
Allen's
like,
he's
2
going to
years.
play. I know, but the Jameis factor too of he can put together. He's previously put together 2 guys as top 12. I think the Saints are going to still be a good team. Godwin just scares me. It's so early coming back.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. My first guy I have who's going really early in drafts, in the top 30 players essentially right now is A.J. Brown. He's the wide receiver 11. ADP's, like I said, early 3rd round, which I think right now is you're reaching on him. I have him as my wide receiver 14, as you'll see on the board there. And I think the biggest problem I have with A.J. Brown in redraft leagues is his current ADP. Like, I'd much rather have Mike Evans, Kyle Pitts, James Conner. I think I'd even rather have T. Higgins at this point. Michael Pittman, for sure. A.J. Brown is joining the number 1 running offense in the NFL from last year. They ran the ball 50% of the time. And one thing I think a lot of people won't really look into is that hurts any wide receiver's PPR value because they're just not throwing the ball as much. There's less chance to get receptions. So unless he's catching deep balls for touchdowns or getting targeted in the red zone a ton, which I don't know if we'll see that heavily in a Jalen Hurts run offense, he's going in the same place he did last year in an offense that completely lacked wide receiver depth. Like, there's Julio Jones last year, but apart from that, there really wasn't anyone. Now he's going into a much more filled offense. Like, I just don't really, Brown doesn't fit in the framework of this offense, in my opinion. Despite Hurts and A.J. Brown being besties, like, obviously their synergy might be really strong when they start the season. There's still Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and that Hurts-Goddard connection last year was actually really solid.
Yeah, it was.
He finished as a top 10. He had 6 top 10 finishes in the tight end position last year. So I think it'll be hard for A.J. Brown to find his way as a top 10 wide receiver in this offense throughout the course of the season.
Yeah. It's hard to it's really hard to disagree with things you're saying here because obviously my biggest argument would be that he was able to put together big numbers when he was on the field last year in a run heavy offense.
Yeah, for sure.
But there is now more target competition. Like I'm still in on AJ Brown, and I'm very much less in on the Devontae Smith, who I think is super
and that's
talented.
the thing too. But he's starting to get better, and I think this year will be a big year for him as well. Like, it's just, I just don't know what the target share is going to look like.
Yeah, if this team is as good as they seem like they're going to be, then they're going to be running the ball. They're going to be more game scripts to run the ball too. So I completely get it. Like I do. But Hurts does have one of the higher in terms of percentage of attempts of like 20 plus yards. He is a good portion of attempts are deep balls. So I think he could still sustain AJ Brown, but I definitely think there's a decent amount of red flags.
Yeah,
and that I can't disagree with.
Yeah, even looking at this offense from last year, like weeks 1 to 6, the Eagles actually did implement a pass heavy offense, and at the beginning of the year it worked, and then it started to really just fall off.
Oh, it was terrible.
Yeah,
their early the difference they made. I've said
but
this before.
But they blew
on
out
the show.
week 1. Like, didn't they not? Like, they blew out a team week 1, I thought. Maybe I'm wrong.
You could be right, but I just remember the game against the 49ers they had that they maybe scored like 9 points or something, and it was incredibly frustrating to watch. And then they adopted this run heavy scheme, and then they ran the table basically to make the playoffs. So I don't know how they changed that. But yeah, I'm on the same page with you in a lot of ways, but I still think he's so talented that he's kind of able to overcome it and be that number 1 guy. This is my last chance. It's the last time I get to talk about Mr. Gabriel Davis.
You have some sort of personal vendetta against this guy.
I do. I don't know why. He was electrifying in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That game was one I'll never forget. But there's too much to speculate about this second outside spot that Gabe Davis is taking over. Emmanuel Sanders, who was that top option, had 72 targets at the position last year as the number 2 outside guy. Cole Beasley saw 112 targets. This offense, we're asking it to fundamentally change how they use the wide receiver position. And I think Isaiah McKenzie is a really talented player that can make more happen after the catch than Cole Beasley did. And it looks like he's going to be that slot wide receiver. So why would I not take a guy like that literally at the end of my draft with a free square instead of investing 7th round draft capital in a guy like Gabriel Davis, when instead I could take a guy like Rashad Bateman, or maybe I want DeAndre Hopkins to help me win a fantasy championship late in the year, or a guy like Hunter Renfrow I think I can trust with volume. Gabe Davis to me is going to be someone that's going to be very volatile and frustrating. He only caught 55.5% of his passes last season. Now that's not an indication of like I think Gabe Davis sucks, he can't catch a football. I think it's more he's going to be deep ball guy. Average depth of target was 10th highest in the league, but having a high average depth of target doesn't necessarily mean great fantasy finishes. You know who led the league in average depth of target with a minimum of 20%, I think, of the most targets which Cooper Kupp had, just to weed out any random guys like a Deontay Harris or something like that. It was Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Bryan Edwards, Emmanuel Sanders, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Did you trust any single one of those guys in fantasy football on a week-to-week basis or ever? No, you didn't. So I don't want to draft this guy because there's too much uncertainty. I'd rather look at the slot position that's been proven the last number of years with Josh Allen at QB that he's targeted. I think Gabe Davis, look, don't get me wrong. I think Gabe Davis will have big weeks. I think there'll be people in the comment section that will be coming back to this video, coming to me on Twitter, coming to me in our Discord and saying, look at Gabe Davis, look what he's doing. And I'm just going to have to say, let's wait for next week when he puts up 3 targets for 21 yards and 1 reception. That's how I see this season going for him.
I mean, like I'll play devil's advocate here, kind of fill in for Cole's role since he's not here. But I mean, do you look at Rashad Bateman and DeAndre Hopkins are 2 guys that you mentioned? Like, there's way more unknown with those 2 guys, I think. DeAndre Hopkins isn't playing, half the
Marquise Brown
season?
had 145 targets last year. Rashad Bateman is now in line with literally no competition to be that guy. Gabe Davis has all the competition.
Rashad Bateman just hasn't proven to do anything yet. Gabe Davis, at least he's been on the field.
Rashad Bateman was good when he played last year. Rashad Bateman was solid. Rashad Bateman
give me the stats.
Rashad Bateman has, I don't have them off the top of my head. I remember some solid target games. And now, no Marquise Brown. He's no longer the 3rd option behind him and Andrews. He's now the 2. And I'm also thinking about the fact that he had good investment in draft capital. To me, has the size to make a lot of big plays, just like Gabe Davis does, but with more certainty in terms of volume. DeAndre Hopkins, look, I got to sit him for 6 weeks, but I know what that guy's going to do when he's on the field.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess so. Well, what if Lamar Jackson holds out, doesn't play week 1? Then what? You got Snoop Huntley throwing the ball for Rashad Bateman?
Then I don't want Rashad Bateman.
No, I'm kidding. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm definitely higher on Gabe Davis than T-Mac is. I think his numbers last year in the playoffs and near the tail end of the season spoke numbers, and just the fact that maybe Josh Allen has a lot more trust in this guy now after building a relationship with it the last 2 years. So I'll definitely take Gabe Davis before Isaiah McKenzie, and I'm fine with missing out on Isaiah McKenzie and taking Gabe Davis at his current ADP instead.
If you want, I can help you on the devil's advocate side. I can spin zone myself.
Okay,
I could the argument is those are the most important games of the year, and Gabe Davis was a reliable option.
Yeah,
he certainly was.
Let's see. Well, week 1 will be a great tell because I wonder how the Rams are gonna go up against this offense. Like, are they going to put Jalen Ramsey on Stephon Diggs? Or are they going to, like you mentioned, are they going to double team Stephon Diggs and then put Jalen Ramsey on Gabe Davis? So,
I saw his receiving yards on a certain sportsbook was like 66.5. Give me that under. I'm hammering that under.
Okay.
If you guys don't watch us on Twitch, also OwnersBox Fantasy Sports on Twitch, we go live every single day at lunch for talking some betting, talking some lightning lineups on OwnersBox. So make sure you're checking us out there too.
Yeah, football is going to be awesome for that. So, okay, my last guy for must-avoid receivers is Amari Cooper. I am so down on Amari Cooper this year. He's going as a wide receiver 23 right now, tail end of the 5th round, early 6th round, depending on kind of what style of draft you're in. Man, I just really don't see him being an emerging star in this Browns offense with how it's looking right now. Deshaun Watson obviously out for 11 games due to suspension, so Jacoby Brissett is in at quarterback. I went back and looked at the Dolphins' numbers last year and where Waddle, who was the wide receiver 1 on the Dolphins roster last year, where he finished when Jacoby Brissett started, because Tua missed a couple games due to injury. Brissett was playing, I think he started 6 games. In the 6 games that he started, Jalen Waddle only finished inside the wide receiver 20 spot twice and not once inside the wide receiver 15 spot. That speaks wonders to me, to just go to a fact that in this Browns offense with Jacoby Brissett, Kareem Hunt, and Nick Chubb, that they're going to probably run the ball first, especially with such a good O-line.
There's the thing to go on top of that is that the Dolphins were very pass heavy last year,
exactly,
because they couldn't run the ball, and we're talking about maybe the best duo in the NFL to run the ball behind, and offensive line for those running backs to run the ball behind too.
Exactly. And look, Amari Cooper last year only finished as a wide receiver 27 If he's going to finish as a wide receiver 27 with Dak Prescott as his quarterback, what do you expect Jacoby Brissett to do?
Yeah.
And he's been dealing with an ankle injury all throughout camp. And what do we do with guys who are dealing with injuries heading into fantasy football season? We don't draft them, Tyler. We don't draft them.
Unless their name's Kadarius Toney, then we'll consider it.
He could be a sneaky buy low option like week 9 or 8 if he's really shit and you want to trade him before Deshaun Watson. Trade for him before Deshaun Watson will come back.
So many
for
guys.
Sure. Could be a very public opinion.
Yeah.
But if he is doing like that poorly, people might forget and just worry about Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt.
It's a luxury. Amari Cooper to me is a luxury pick going too early to be a luxury pick.
Yeah.
Because
interesting.
If you get him in those late weeks, like you said, then this could be great for the end of the year because I think Deshaun Watson, look, despite what he is as a person, which is a scumbag, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL when he's on the field.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
If you get that for the last 6 weeks, he could win your league. But at the same time, if you're drafting him where you're drafting him, he might single-handedly keep you from winning a championship because you could be taking guys that are, I don't know if you have them on the top of your head, but we probably showed them to you earlier that are much better options than Amari Cooper.
Yeah, at his current, like where he's going right now.
Yeah, like who else is going around him?
Brandon Cooks is going right around him. After him. Marquise Brown is going after him.
Yeah, like
Michael Thomas, Chris Godwin, whatever. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Juju, Adam Thielen, Darnell Mooney. Like the list goes on and on. All those guys I would take before Amari Cooper.
Well, despite whatever you think about the Bears offense, we know Darnell Mooney is probably going to see 115, 120 targets. Like I think the Browns might run the ball a ton because I think that's going to give them the best chance to win. That offensive line is really good. They got 2 guys to go to as well.
Like Brissett's huge. Use his frame. Like they have essentially now 3 great runners that can. There's so many different packages that Stefanski can run now. So I really don't think they're going to be throwing the ball a ton.
No. Yeah. I don't know how you could hit the draft button on Amari Cooper, honestly. You got to put yourself in some sort of galaxy brain thinking you like literally dominated the first 5 rounds and you're like, I'll sit on this guy for 10 weeks, never want to play him. And because he has no upside in those 10 weeks. Right? Is it 10 week or 11 weeks?
11 weeks. Weird number, but
they wanted that Texans matchup, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, we'd really appreciate it if you do so. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed. We're giving away a free jersey of your choice on Sunday night's video. We'll announce the winner, plus $100 of site credit on OwnersBox. All you have to do is send us the proof with a screenshot of your subscription, either to Twitter, in our DMs, or to me on Discord. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.